So when I was a kid, I used to be afraid of the dark, right? Well, it wasn't really the dark I was afraid of. It was the axe murderers that used to come around in the dark. They used to, sneak into the little kids' bedrooms and chop off any parts that were visible outside the covers, right? So at night, I used to lay there in my bed, just looking at all the shapes in the dark, staring at them, waiting for them to move. And when they didn't move, still wasn't sure if it was safe. So I'd slowly pull the blankets up over my head and then slowly pull my hair back underneath my head, under the blankets, because I didn't want them to cut off any hair, to make sure every little hair was underneath the blankets. Then my hands would be up here and I'd realize, oh, my fingers are still outside the blankets. So ever so slowly I'd pull my fingers. You have to do it slowly because the axe murderer that's in the room will notice if you move fast. So you go so slow, so slow. Finally everything is safe under the blanket, but I still couldn't breathe. I would just hold my breath, don't move, and that's how I'd fall asleep. And in the morning, everything would be fine. I'd know it worked because I still had all my fingers, my hair was fine, my head was still on, so I was good. And then I grew up. I was about 15, and I didn't have any fears after that. I realized there aren't really axe murderers that go around hiding in children's rooms, cutting off fingers and then needlets coming out of the blankets. But I was scared of bears. And we used to go camping in Yosemite a lot. And we knew about bears. There's bears in Yosemite. But we never saw one close up. They were just stories of bears, and you'd see bear prints. And you always had to pull your food up between the trees so the bears couldn't get the food. Well, one year I was hiking with my dad and my brother, and we had been hiking since about noon. We had to get to this certain campsite. So it was midnight, and we were still hiking. It was dark. We were hiking with flashlights. And by then, your feet are just on automatic, and you're just exhausted. But we had to keep going until we got to this campsite. It was 1:30 in the morning before we got to the campsite, a place where we could stop. And my brother and my dad took the food and climbed the tree, strung up the rope, pulled the food up, while I just laid out the tarp and the sleeping bags, because there was no way I was going to put a tent up at 1:30 in the morning. So after everything was set, we climbed in our sleeping bags and we just crashed. But then I woke up in the dark, and it was like I was 6 again. I was laying in the dark and I could hear the footprints. And these weren't just regular people footprints. They go crunch, crunch, crunch on the rocks. This was big, heavy footprints. Thud, thud, thud. And I knew it was something big. Then you could hear the breathing. It wasn't just normal breathing. It was big, heavy, wet breathing. I was petrified. My heart stopped. And my breathing stopped. And slowly reached my hands up over my head. Pulled my hair under my hair. And slowly reached for the quarter down the mummy bag and pulled it tight up around my face. Slowly pulled my hands, and I didn't want to make any sudden moves to attract any unwanted attention. So until I was safely inside my sleeping bag, and then I just laid there and listened. And the thudding got closer, and the breathing got closer, and the breathing got heavier. Then the breathing turned into sniffing. And it was sniffing. Really big, wet, heavy, snorting sniffing around my face. My heart was pounding so hard, I felt like it was going to burst out of my chest right into whatever was up above my head. And I just froze. I just could not move, which was probably a very good thing. And until I thought I was going to die for not being able to breathe. And then the sniffing went back to regular breathing. and the breathing slowly dissipated, and the thumping and the thudding of the footprints disappeared, and I was able to relax very slowly, and my breathing started again very slowly, and my heart started to just calm down a little bit, and I just fell asleep. Morning, woke up, first thing I did was jump out of my bag and turn to look to see if this had been a dream. But sure enough, right above our heads in the dirt, right off the tarp, were the biggest bear paw prints you had ever seen of this bear that had just come by to pay us a visit. I showed my dad, my brother, and their mouths just dropped to the floor, and they had slept through the whole thing. I wish I'd been so lucky, but hadn't. But at least I hadn't used fruity shampoo that morning. So there's my story.